Point 3. Make capital cheap and IP sticky. Extend the budget 2025 super deductions into permanent, economy-wide, expansive expenses of machinery, equipment, and technology. Oh, I heard about that. They had this new thing, the 2025 super deduction, essentially, which allows you to like write off economic, like new machinery. You'd be able to write it off almost instantly, from my understanding. Um, let me look that up. 2025 super deduction. Canada. Define. Let's see what we get. Productivity super deduction is a suite of tax incentives to help businesses write off the cost of new investments faster. Yeah. By allowing companies to deduct a larger share of their equipment and property costs from their taxes sooner, the goal is to boost business spending, innovation, and overall. So it's saying just make that permanent. Add a capital gains rollover for reinvested proceeds. I feel like there's so much packed into each sentence. Capital gains rollover for reinvested proceeds. I don't know what that is. Restructure SR and ED, which currently rewards firms for staying small. Oh, well, that just sounds bad. The credit cliff discourages exactly the scaling we need, and pair it with patent box so IP developed here gets commercialized and taxed here instead of being sold to a US acquirer at Series B. Okay. Can you expand on the third point for me? The make capital cheap and IP sticky. I feel like I'm gonna have to do this for all of them. Oh, this will probably be the rest of the stream. Because even when it goes into details, I don't fully follow it sometimes. This one's wonkier than the competition file, but it's arguably closer to the root of the problem. Canada's productivity gap is mechanically mostly a capital gap. Workers here have less machinery, software, and IP behind them than American workers, and the gap compounds every year firms underinvest. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like capital and productivity and investment R&D is something that stacks on itself. And so if you're underinvesting, you are consistently falling farther behind. And you can't just magically step up and if you invest the same, you're suddenly going to make the same productivity. No, it's something you have to start building, and it's going to take years of investing on top of itself to build back up to the proper productivity. But if you encourage proper investing, then you can invest more and you can catch up to the productivity. And so it's saying the productivity gap in Canada is mostly a capital gap. So the question becomes, why don't Canadian firms invest? And what tax and policy levers change that math? Full expensing. The machinery and equipment side. Normally when a firm buys $1 million machine, tax law doesn't let it deduct the cost right away. It deducts it over years or decades through capital cost allowance, depreciation schedules. That sounds like accounting trivia, but it matters enormously because A deduction 10 years from now is worth much less than a deduction today. That's what they were trying to fix with the 2025 super deductions, is that they were trying to allow you to the invested capital can be deducted today rather than 10 years from now. Inflation and the time value of money erode it. The result is that the tax system quietly penalizes investment relative to other uses of money. Full expensing flips this. Deduct 100% of the cost in the year of purchase. Economists across the spectrum like it because it changes the marginal incentive. It only rewards firms that actually invest, unlike a rate cut, which also rewards profits on investments already made. The empirical literature on the US bonus depreciation episode is quite strong. Firms respond and the incentive is real, not just timing shifts. So if we've done this once, shouldn't we have data on it? Like if it works and it's saying that it works, that firms respond to this, and they'll buy machinery and tools that can then be used to increase productivity of your workers. Like that is what you want. Canada has flirted with this. The 2018 accelerated investment incentive was a response to the Trump tax cuts, and budget 2025's productivity super deduction pushed further. But these measures share two flaws. They're temporary, scheduled to phase out, and they're partial. Temporary expensing mostly shifts the timing of investment rather than raising its level. Firms pull forward purchases they'd have made anyway to beat the deadline. The memo says make it permanent, make it economy-wide, and include software and data infrastructure, not just tangible machinery, because increasing the capital that matters is intangible. The fiscal cost looks scary in year one, but shrinks dramatically over time, since you're mostly accelerating deductions that would have happened eventually. The long-run cost is just the time value transfer, which is precisely the incentive you're trying to create. I mean, that sounds good. Deduct 100% of the cost in year of purchase. Where's the part where it's like digital goods as well? Make it permanent, make it economy-wide, and include software and data infrastructure, not just tangible machinery. So that purchases of software and data infrastructure can be deducted 100% in the year of purchase rather than extended over multiple years. I mean, firms respond and the investment is real, not just timing shifts. They're trying something like this, right? 2025 priority super deduction. I want. These are getting really long. There's the because 2025. I should say, when did what was the time frame here? Do we have data on this? Like, because it says that short-term super deductions like this, it just has the habit of moving when people invest. But if you make it long-term and economy-wide, it has the effect of increasing total investment and not just shifting the investment itself. Okay, that's going to take a time. Let's continue. man, it tried to pack all of this into like 5 sentences. It didn't work. Uh, the capital gains rollover, the financial side. The machinery story addresses firms that have money and won't spend it. The rollover addresses a different choke point, the recycling of risk capital. Right now, when an angel investor or founder sells shares in a Canadian company at a gain, tax is due immediately, even if they turn around and put every dollar into the next Canadian startup. That friction discourages exactly the behavior you want. Experienced money moving from exit to new venture over and over. Rollover provision lets the investor defer the gain if proceeds are reinvested in eligible small business shares within some window. Canada actually has a narrow version of this, Section 44.1 of the Income Tax Act, but it's so restrictive and little known that it's nearly dead letter. The US equivalent, the Section 1202 Qualified Small Business Stock Exemption, which can exclude gains entirely on startup shares held 5+ years, is a significant reason American angel ecosystems are so deep. A serious Canadian version would widen eligibility, raise the limit, and market the thing so investors actually plan around it. The objection is that capital gains preferences are regressive, so response is to tie the preference tightly to genuinely new equity in small growth firms, not to real estate or public market flipping. Capital gains rollover. Like, that sounds like a good idea because it experienced money moving from exit to new venture over and over. That is what you want. That is what'll cause growth. It actually hasn't run out yet. It's still in effect. The productivity super deduction was announced in the 2025 federal budget as a set of fast write-off tax incentives for depreciable capital property, and it's a forward-looking measure with a long runway. So then why don't we just extend it like indefinitely? As soon as it becomes permanent, that is when you see the growth in actual investment. That one sounds like a good idea too. Let's go to the next one. I had no idea what this one was. SR and ED, fixing the R&D incentive that rewards staying small. The Scientific Research and Experimental Development Credit is Canada's flagship innovation program worth several billion a year, and it has perverse design at its heart. Small Canadian-controlled private corporations get an enhanced refundable credit of 35% on qualifying R&D. Larger firms get 15% non-refundable. The enhanced rate phases out as the firms grow past income and capital thresholds. Think about the incentive that creates. The moment your company succeeds, grows, raises capital, earns profits, your R&D subsidy is cut by more than half. It's a tax on scaling in a countries whose defining commercial pathology is that firms don't scale. Companies structure themselves to stay under threshold, or they take the early stage subsidy and then sell to a foreign acquirer right around the point where the subsidy disappears. Meaning Canadian taxpayers fund the risky early R&D and American shareholders harvest the mature returns. The 2024-2025 reform round raised the expenditure limits and restored eligible capital expenditures, which helps but doesn't touch the core cliff structure. Deeper fixes: flatten the rate differential so the credit doesn't collapse with growth. Make more of it refundable for larger firms. Non-refundable credit is worthless to scale up, burning cash. Um, I don't get the difference for refundable, like what the point non-refundable? Like if you, like, refundable is how you get it, right? Non-refundable credit is worthless to scale up, burning cash. Simplify the compliance burden. Cottage industry of SR and ED consultant captures a meaningful slice of the program's value just navigating it, which is pure dead weight. And consider tilting some support towards outcome rather than input. Canada spends heavily on R&D inputs and gets weak output. Business R&D around 0.9% of GDP against the OECD average of nearly 2, despite generous subsidies. That paradox suggests the design, not the dollars, is the problem. So we spend enough. It's the design of the system that is causing issues. As it says, it has a perverse design at its heart. If you punish scaling, you can't be surprised when it doesn't, when companies don't scale. I mean, that just makes sense. The patent box, making the IP stay. Here's the pipeline problem the first 3 tools don't solve. Suppose the subsidized R&D works. A Waterloo team develops valuable IP, partly on the taxpayer's dime. Under current rules, there's nothing making it advantage to keep that IP in Canada. So the standard playbook is acquisition by a US or foreign firm. IP migrates to the acquirer's jurisdiction, and the commercial profits, the licensing income, and the high value jobs that surround owned IP all occur elsewhere. Canada is, in effect, an R&D farm team. A patent box or innovation box taxes income derived from qualifying IP, patents, and in some designs, software copyrights at the preferential copyright rate, but not if the IP was substantially developed domestically. That last condition is the modern nexus requirement the OECD imposed after early patent boxes. Netherlands, Preform UK. Degraded into pure profit shifting vehicles where companies park patents in low tax jurisdictions without doing any research there. Post-Nexus designs tie the tax break to where the R&D actually happened, which converts the patent box from a tax avoidable tool into a genuine retention incentive. Develop here, commercialize here, pay maybe 9 to 13% on the result income instead of 26%. Quebec already runs one provincially. It's incentive deduction for the commercialization of innovations, and the 2025 federal budget signaled interest in a national version. I mean, I think that's a good idea. The design details matter a lot. Too narrow, patents only, and you miss software, which is most of modern IP. Too broad, and it becomes a general rate cut in disguise. And it should note that empirical literature on patent boxes is genuinely mixed. They demonstrate attraction and retain IP location, but the evidence they increase underlying R&D activity is weak. That's fine if you're clear-eyed about the goal. This instrument is about capturing the commercialization layer, while SR and ED handles the research layer. They're complement, not substitutes. So you need both of them to work well. But basically, the idea is if you develop an IP in a location, you get basically a better rate of taxation on the IP at that location. Therefore, the need to move the IP to somewhere that to a place that is taxes less is not there, and therefore you keep and you retain the commercial the benefits of the IP and the taxation that comes in from the IP if it's lower, but you're promoting keeping the IP here. And then this one, the scientific research and experimental development, is about improving the amount of R&D to create IPs, and then this is about keeping the IP in your country so that it doesn't just go to the United States. How the 4 pieces interlocked. The logic of the package is a life cycle map. Full expensing fixes the incentive to deploy capital inside existing firms. The rollover fixes the recycling of risk capital into new firms. SR and ED reform fixes the perverse penalties on firms that grow. The patent box fixes the leak at the end, where successful IP exits the country, and one alone leaves a hole. Expensing without the patent box means you subsidize equipment for branch plants whose profits book elsewhere. SR and ED without rollover means research happens, but financing for scaling doesn't, and so on. 2 honest caveats for the Prime Minister. First, tax incentives can't fix non-tax problems. If firms don't invest because they're protected oligopolies, or because projects take a decade to improve, we haven't even gotten to point 4 yet, cheaper capital just pads margins. That's why this is 1 point among 7 rather than the whole memo. Second, there's a respectable skeptical school, including some at Finance Canada, arguing Canada already has internationally competitive statutory rates and generous R&D credits, and that the binding constraints are managerial ambitions, market size, and competition, not tax. My read is that the level of support is fine, but the design is broken. The money flows, and the incentive is it creates points in the wrong direction, towards staying small, selling early, and letting the IP walk. Redesign, more than enrichment, is the ask. Well, I liked pretty much all of them, but that some of it goes over my head. I kind of get the patent box. You basically offer incentives for the IP to stay here if it's made here. Like, the whole idea is that what is developed here gets you a preferential rate. Pay maybe resulting income instead of the 26. Quebec already run its incentive deductions for the commercial of innovation. Okay, so Quebec already does that one. This is the scientific research and experimental development, which is it incentivizes staying small because as you get larger, you lose the tax break essentially. A credit of 35 on qualifying R&D, and large firms get 15% non-refundable. What? Like, non-refundable means like you can't use it? Fine. Once you make a purchase or pay a fee, the money cannot be returned to you for any reason. Okay, so the money cannot be returned. And this is refundable. Honestly, I don't understand the investments enough to really get that. But a non-refundable credit is worthless to a scale up burning cash. Okay. The capital rollover. This is all about um, if you pull your money out of an investment, allow them to reinvest it without taxing it first, and that incentivizes them instantly. It's experience money moving from exit to new venture over and over, and that is just a good growth, a thing that causes growth, causes investment, causes productivity gain.